Hello again, it.Hope, and welcome to another video. And this one's going to be another tech video, and it's actually about another game console. But actually a game console that maybe people count, but a lot of people may not count. But before I start, I just want to say, hope you're all having a good weekend. For everyone in America and Canada, hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope you had a good Black Friday day, if you celebrate it, you know what I mean? And hope your weekend's going really, really well. So hope it's, everything's going well for your friends and family. American football, soccer, hockey, whatever the heck you do, you know what I mean? But anyway, this is actually going to be about the Ouya game console. Now, for those that don't know what the Ouya is basically a micro console, and a micro console is basically a cheap alternative game console. It's basically a cheap game console that allows you to play games. And usually, these sort of micro consoles obviously don't use any physical media, and usually download the games on the console itself. Now, this console actually, the origin of the console actually started from a Kickstarter idea from a woman called Julie Ehrman, who basically, at the time she was thinking that the television gaming was sort of going away, and she wanted to bring that idea back, and basically wanted to bring gaming back to the television. Which may sound a bit strange, you know what I mean? And she wanted to create, a small little Android game console for indie developers. Making it a lot easier for indie devs to, have the game, developed for Ouya without any sort of restrictions. And that's basically what they wanted to create with the Ouya. And that's the way of it, how it is. Now I'll just show you the front of it and the back of it and stuff. Now that's the front of it, where it says Ouya, and obviously you can feel the writing on it. It just says Ouya on it, which actually quite looks nice. At least it's an Ouya console, you know what I mean? On that side, there's nothing. On that side, there's nothing. On the back of it, you've got all the parts and stuff. So the top of it, you've got the power parts, obviously, to plug it in and power it up. On on the second part, you've got a little small mini USB port. So if you want to plug any, for example, any hard drives you've got, any sort of anything that you want to connect to it, you know what I mean, with the cable. So you've got a little port on there. On the back of it also, you've got a Ethernet port. I'll try to think then. You've got an Ethernet port on there. You've got an HDMI port and a USB port. Now, I don't know if that's USB 2.0 or 3.0. I'm not entirely sure. So, my guess that is really. And on the top of it, you've just got a button on it to turn the console on. Now, I think the design of it is quite stylish. Even though it was made 4 years ago. Released 4 years ago. I quite like the design of it. It's quite small, obviously. Unlike other game consoles that are like large and bulky. I quite like the look of it, and it's quite nice. Actually, another thing I meant to say was the bottom of it has got a fan on it. So obviously, to instantly cool the console if it overheats or whatever. Yeah, and it's just a little small box that fits in the palm of your hand. It's just quite nice. Now, another thing I want to show is the controller. Now, me personally, I quite like the look of the controller. I think it's quite nice, in the palm of the hands. I think the trigger buttons, shoulder buttons, they work fine and stuff. The analog sticks, work fine. The D-pad works fine. And the other buttons feel nice. It's quite a nice controller. I've heard a lot of people compare it to an Xbox 360 controller. Just the design of it, really. And it's just how it goes, really. But I quite like the feel of the controller. I think the design of it is quite nice. Just looks different, you know what I mean? But it looks nice. Now, one thing that kind of confuses a lot of people with this controller is people may ask, how do you charge or how do you use the controller? Basically asking, is it wired or wireless? Now, this actually is a wireless controller. All the controls that were made for this console were wireless. And you might be thinking, well, if it's wireless, how do you use it? You know what I mean? How does it, whatever, you know what I mean? Now the controller runs off batteries, and you might be thinking, how the heck do you get the batteries in this controller? And I think the way you look at it, you think, where the flip it does it go? You know what I mean? You might think it's at the back of it. There's no place for it. Basically, what you do is you take these parts off the controller. You take them both off, and you've got places for two batteries, AAA batteries, so they are, which might kind of put you off of the controller. But I think after a while, it's like it's really no biggie. You know what I mean? You just put the batteries in the controller, and you're playing away. You just sync it to the console, and there you go. You're playing games. So yeah, I just want to talk about my experience of the Ouya. Now, I do remember seeing it, hearing about it back in June 2013. And around that time, I'd actually just recently finished college and actually started looking for work. And I actually remember Game was actually selling this, Game UK. And I think Game was the only retail store that was actually selling this console. And it came out at £99 or £100, whatever, which isn't bad, you know what I mean, for the money. And I think, I kept thinking at the time, I thought, I want to definitely get one of these consoles, but I thought, down the line, I definitely want to get one of these consoles, because I think it looked pretty cool, you know, stuff. And, you know, and that's just the way it goes. And over time, I kept hearing reviews. I was watching a lot of unboxing videos, and I thought, this thing looks pretty cool, I will eventually get one. So then, throughout 2013, I didn't get one. Throughout 2014, I was still hearing about them. I never got one. But I think some of the games look pretty cool on it. 2015, I never got one. 2016, I never got one. I did get one in 2017, February 2017, this year. And I played a few games on it, and they actually are quite good. And I think the idea of, you know, playing games on this is pretty cool. I know a lot of people are kind of questionable when they say or ask, really, you're playing mobile games on the television? To me, I'm not really bothered, do you know what I mean? I sometimes play mobile games on my mobile phone. Not a lot, but I prefer to like use a handheld, you know, whatever, like a 3DS or whatever. But the device is actually quite cool. I think it's a pretty good thing. But it's mostly seen as an alternative, because when this came out, obviously you had the next-gen Wii U at the time, and PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were still current. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One hadn't been released at this point. And basically, you know, you had Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo in one corner, you know, battling it out with all the games and stuff. The Wii U had already been out for several months. The Xbox One, obviously, and the PlayStation 4 had been announced. And there was a lot of, like, you know, battle commencing, all that sort of stuff. And obviously you had this. And basically it was like, you know, we're Ouya, we're coming out with this new game console. Obviously you've got, you know, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft battling it out. We're going to be over here doing our own thing. We are basically an alternative to the, you can say the console war thing. We're basically an alternative. You can play our games, you can try them out, and that's basically what if you want to do. You can come over and play some of the games that we have. And that's the way it goes. Because a lot of people kind of bring it into the Wii U, the PS4 and the Xbox One, which isn't the way it should have been. And that's one thing that kind of made it look weak, because people thought, okay, when Grand Theft Auto 5 comes to this console, email me, ring me up, call me up, whatever, and then I'll buy this console. People took it, you know, like that, and that's not the way it was. It was basically an alternative, you know, console that had a lot of indie support, and you could play all sorts of games. And one thing that actually made this console very unique was it was actually an open source console, which means basically is that you can actually develop software and games for the Ouya and actually have them distributed on the service, on the Ouya store, which actually is, I think, is quite interesting. Basically giving you, or giving the public, a development kit at home. So you can actually develop games for this console, which I think was a pretty interesting, unique device. Because other consoles, you can't do that. You need to buy the development kit and the retail unit to do that, you know what I mean? So to basically have a development kit built in was a unique, you know what I mean, selling point to it. And as well as a bunch of other stuff. One thing about it is it runs a lot of the applications that the Android, you know, software uses. As well as, you know, a lot of applications, you know, such as media applications, so you can watch television programs. You've got Netflix, you can watch Netflix on this, and you can do all sorts of it. Even, you know, run emulators on this. Now, the retro part is the one thing that makes this console very unique. A lot of people really love the Ouya because of the fact it's a great emulation box, allowing you to download applications and the, you know, via of emulators to play these games. So you can play NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Master System, Mega Drive, even, you know, original PlayStation, that sort of stuff. Even, you know, Dreamcast for that matter. And also a lot of people love it for MAME, which is the arcade emulator. And how you basically do is obviously you download the applications, that, you know, the ROMs and you basically download the apps to, you know, play the games and stuff. And you need like a storage device. This is a USB. And you basically connect it to the console, and that's how it does it. So it will detect those ROMs that have actually been downloaded on this USB, and you can play them through the applications. And it's a great little device. And that's why a lot of people love the Ouya, because it's just a little interesting, you know, thing to do. And I play a lot of the old school games on this. I have a few NES games on this USB, Super Nintendo, N64, Mega Drive, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, TurboGrafx/PC Engine, Neo Geo, as well as Neo Geo Pocket Color, or Pocket, I mean, because I've got Sonic Pocket Adventure, which is an absolute amazing game for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Bloody great game. And yeah, it's just a little interesting device and stuff. Now, one thing people may be asking is this device still well worth buying, really? I'd say so. I think it's just a unique part of gaming in history. If people, even though most people detest this console and say, "Don't show this in my face, Dominic, this is an absolute piece of rubbish," you might like it. And there's a lot of great games on this that make it worthwhile. But there were a few things that made the Ouya company look bad. One is that they did not really market this console, like with, you know, advertisements and stuff. And I remember seeing no advertisements for the Ouya console on television. I did online, but I never saw any on television. So you weren't really getting your, you know, your brand out there. So not everyone knew what the Ouya was. Most people that knew the Ouya were those that were mostly on the internet. You know what I mean? That followed this console, or they backed it via Kickstarter. And that is, you know, the thing about it. Another thing was that there aren't really a lot of true exclusives on this that make the console worthwhile. You might be thinking, why? Because it uses Android. And if you've got an Android device, you can play most of those games that are on the Ouya. Even though a lot of indie devs did try and fully enhance it on the Ouya. So they did. And that's what happened. But even if it gets a lot of negativity, it's still worth, you know, playing, you know what I mean? You can find them really, really cheap. I got mine for like £30. And I think it's just a little interesting device to keep, you know what I mean? It's definitely going to be a little part of, you know, as I just said, gaming history. And I think in the far future, these may end up being a bit of a collector's item. Not to just play, but to use and stuff. And one last thing that makes this console unique is, as I said about the whole open source thing, you can actually hack and modify this console. You can open it up and, you know, mess around in there. No other console manufacturer or maker allows you to do that, and no company allows you to do that. Ouya came out and said, you can hack and modify this thing, doesn't break your warranty. Which is crazy to say that, you know what I mean? It's just insane. But yeah, it's an interesting console, the Ouya. And I just want to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you've got a Ouya, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!